Hello everyone, welcome to another video in the channel. Today we are going to discuss about PyTorch 1.6. So PyTorch 1.6 released in July 28th, that's almost 4 days ago, and it has very interesting features that we are going to discuss today. As the title says, PyTorch 1.6 released with native AMP support. So this is the biggest feature in PyTorch 1.6. So AMP is automatic mixed precision training. I will talk more about AMP. So there is a native AMP support in PyTorch 1.6. Previously, automatic mixed precision training required another library called Apex, but now we don't need any additional library. It is inbuilt into PyTorch itself. Then another big thing is Microsoft is joining as a maintainer for Windows PyTorch. That's great. Let's read more about what all changes are there in PyTorch 1.6. So by PyTorch team, today we are announcing the availability of PyTorch 1.6 along with updated domain libraries. We are also excited to announce the team at Microsoft is now maintaining Windows builds and binaries. Okay, so what was just stated before? Wasn't Microsoft maintaining Windows builds and binaries? Let's see. So according to the latest survey, Windows remains the primary operating system for the developer community. Okay, that's interesting. So Windows is the primary operating system, and 28% is Mac OS, 46% is taken by Windows developers. And then this guy initially made a heroic effort to add support for PyTorch on Windows. Okay, so it was not Microsoft but Jiaxin Pu who introduced Windows support for PyTorch. But due to limited resources, Windows support for PyTorch has lagged behind other platforms. Okay, so that means the PyTorch for Windows is not as good as PyTorch for other platforms. Lack of test coverage resulted in unexpected issues popping up every now and then. Some of the core tutorials meant for new users to learn and adopt PyTorch would fail to run. The installation experience was also not smooth with the lack of official PyP support for PyTorch on Windows. So what they are saying is the installation was not smooth, and when people wanted to run the tutorials, they were facing some unexpected issues because the PyTorch team didn't have enough resources to look into all these issues. Lastly, some of the PyTorch functionality was simply not available on the Windows platform, such as Torch Audio, domain library, and distributed training support. So this is a big one. Distributed training support was not available for Windows, so you can only train using one GPU or one process if you are using Windows. To help alleviate this pain, Microsoft is happy to bring its Windows expertise to the table and bring PyTorch on Windows to its best possible self. So this is good news for all the Windows developers or data scientists working on Windows now. So now let's have a look into the major highlights in PyTorch 1.6. So there are 5 major highlights listed here. First is automated mixed precision training. Automatic mixed precision training is now natively supported and a stable feature thanks for NVIDIA's contribution. So NVIDIA's team has worked really hard to integrate native automatic mixed precision training into PyTorch. So before moving further, we should understand what AMP means. So AMP is also called automatic mixed precision. I have a blog written on AMP where I clearly explain what is AMP and what are the benefits of this kind of training. So this is my blog. So mixed precision training is generally a concept from NVIDIA. So what NVIDIA says is the Volta generation of GPUs, for example the V100s, introduced Tensor Core. So Tensor Core is a feature in some of the GPUs from NVIDIA which provide 8x more throughput than single precision math pipelines. So this is interesting. So some GPUs have a feature called Tensor Core which provide 8x more throughput than a single precision math pipeline. So what is say single precision and what is mixed precision? So for that we have to understand how floating point numbers consume memory. So generally floating point numbers are 32-bit numbers and this is also called single precision number. But there are other floating point numbers called half precision numbers which take only 16 bits. So it is half the memory of a single precision number. So in mixed precision training, we convert some of the single precision arithmetic operations to half precision arithmetic operation. So what is the benefit of doing that? So the benefit is, first of all, the model weights and the activations, since they are only consuming half the memory, they require less memory, enabling the training and development and deployment of larger neural networks. So if a neural network like BERT or ResNet, which is consuming a lot of memory, so if we convert that model to half precision, then it requires less memory now. And another benefit is that since they require less memory bandwidth, the data transfer operation during training speeds up, because we are now transferring less amount of data. Mathematical operations run much faster in reduced precision, especially on GPUs with tensor core support for that precision. So if a GPU has tensor core and we are running our mathematical operations in half precision instead of single precision, they run much faster. So that way, all three benefits combined, we get a really big improvement in our training throughput. Now let's get back to PyTorch 1.6. So what it says is the AMP training feature is now natively supported. So before 1.6, AMP feature was not natively present in PyTorch. So how were we using this feature before 1.6? So since this concept is mostly from NVIDIA, so NVIDIA had provided a library called Apex. So Apex is a open source code repository hosted in GitHub, and NVIDIA's developer used to maintain this and add new features to Apex. In my blog, I have explained what Apex is and how to use Apex and how does it work with PyTorch and what are the different modules inside Apex. And yeah, I have also given some instructions and examples on how to use Apex here. So please go through this blog if you are interested in mixed precision training and Apex. But now with 1.6, we don't need to install Apex and use Apex, because this feature is directly present in PyTorch 1.6. The second highlight of PyTorch 1.6 is native TensorPipe support now added for tensor-aware point-to-point communication primitives built specifically for machine learning. So TensorPipe is a communication primitive. So a communication primitive describes or controls how data is transferred between processes. So TensorPipe is one of the primitives which is newly added, specifically considering machine learning in mind. So this is a very optimized communication primitive compared to the previous primitives, which are MPI or glue. So now this is added into PyTorch 1.6. So that is also a good performance improvement. We'll discuss more about this. The third feature is added support for complex tensors to the front-end API surface. So previously we have been seeing that there are PyTorch tensors which contain real numbers, but now they have added support to store complex numbers also. I personally haven't used complex numbers for model training, but this is good to know for people who are interested in using complex tensors. Fourth one is new profiling tools providing tensor level memory consumption information. This is a really great feature. So previously it was very hard to understand which tensors are actually consuming memory during my training. So now there is a profiling tool inbuilt in PyTorch 1.6 which will provide tensor level memory consumption information. This is very granular information, so this will be really useful. So we are going to insert it into our code right away. Fifth one is numerous improvements and new features for both distributed data parallel training and the remote procedure called packages. Okay, so before moving forward, we should discuss what is distributed data parallel and what is remote procedural call or RPC. So distributed data parallel is used when we want to distribute our data among multiple processes and run them parallelly. So that way, suppose I have 10,000 data points. So what I can do is I can distribute 5,000 to one process and 5,000 to another process and run them parallelly. And another module from PyTorch was remote procedural call, or RPC. So RPC is used when we want to run some operations in a remote machine. So generally, suppose we have a big model which we are not able to fit into one GPU memory. So in that case, we have to split that model and put it into two different machines or two different processes or two different GPUs. So in that case, this RPC package helped in communicating between those processes and running everything smoothly. These were the top 5 highlights of PyTorch 1.6, and they have said that additionally from this release onwards, features will be classified as stable, beta and prototype. So they are classifying the features into 3 different categories, which is good to know. Okay, so now they are explaining all these features in more detail. So let's go through them. First is performance and profiling. So automated mixed precision training. AMP allows users to easily enable automatic mixed precision training, enabling higher performance and memory saving up to 50% on Tensor Core GPUs. Using the natively supported torch.cuda.amp API, AMP provides the convenience methods for mixed precision training, where some operations use torch.float32 data type and other operations use torch.float16. So as I discussed before and I showed in my blog also, AMP uses float16 tensors for some of the operations, and for some other operations it uses float32. For example, some operations like linear layers and convolutions, which are much faster in float16, other operations like reductions often require the dynamic range of float32. So float32 can store a huge range of numbers, but float16 only has a limited range of numbers that it can store. So operations like reductions, which require a larger range, they use float32 for accuracy purpose. Mixed precision tries to match each operation to its appropriate data type. So this mixed precision feature, it automatically matches the best way to run each operation and optimizes that way. So they provided some design doc and documentation and uses examples here. In our next videos, we'll go deep into automatic mixed precision training. Another feature that they have introduced is a fork or join parallelism in Torch script. So this is a beta feature, it's not stable yet, so this is experimental, I guess. This release adds support for a language level construct as well as runtime support for coarse grained parallelism in Torch script code. So Torch script is a new way to store and run your PyTorch code. So the purpose of Torch script is to create an universal model which can be transferred between different languages and different devices. For example, I can write a Torch script code in Python and I can run it in C code or C++ code. So that way Torch script is very useful. I have not used Torch script much, but we'll go through Torch script in our next videos. So what they have introduced here is for some operations which can be parallelized, they have provided an easy way to do that using torch.zip.fork, and then you can combine all those operations using torch.zip.wait. This is a very cool feature. It is seems pretty easy to parallelize and combine different threads and different processes, I guess. They have a documentation link, but we'll not go through this right now. Another beta feature is memory profiler. So this is really interesting. People who are already working on PyTorch can start using it right away. I don't think this won't be useful to anyone. So the torch.autograd.profiler API now includes memory profiler that lets you inspect the tensor memory cost of different operators inside your CPU and GPU models. This is really great. So why didn't they introduce this feature earlier? So what is happening is, for example, you are running a forward pass of your model here, and with this profiler.profile as prop this single line, what you can do is now after this line, after your forward pass finishes, you can just print all the profiled memory uses and everything. So for example, here it is printing which operation, I guess, which operation or which tensors are consuming how much memory. So, and also they are profiling how many number of calls they are making. We'll know more about it when we start using it. I will also post a video on using PyTorch memory profiler, and we'll know more about that. Really cool feature. Another feature is distributed training and RPC. RPC is remote procedural call. So TensorPipe backend for RPC, I think we discussed like what is TensorPipe, and now they have introduced TensorPipe for RPC. So this will also give some performance boost. I'm not sure if TensorPipe support is both for CPU or GPU. I think it is only for CPU right now, but they are going to introduce GPU support also. So how to use it? So one line change is needed to opt in. So while initting your RPC, you just set backend to TensorPipe. So this is really easy. So we'll also go through this in our future videos. There is another beta feature called DDP plus RPC. So what they are saying is PyTorch distributed supports two powerful paradigms, DDP for full sync data parallel training and RPC for model parallel training. Previously, these two features worked independently and users couldn't mix and match these to try out hybrid parallelisms. So this is really great. So what they are saying is previously you could either do data parallelism or you could do model parallelism using RPC. But DDP and RPC, they didn't communicate, means they didn't gel well together. So it was not easy to combine both model parallelism and data parallelism. But now they have introduced new feature to combine both of them. I will definitely try this. So for example, they've given an example here. So for example, you have a model which has a huge embedding layer. So what they have done is they have moved that embedding operation to a different machine, but all the dense operations, they are using data parallelism to parallelize that. So this is a good example of where you will combine both RPC and DDP. So now they will work together, and this is a really good feature. Another feature which is also in beta is RPC asynchronous user functions. So RPC asynchronous user function supports the ability to yield and resume on the server side when executing a user defined function. So prior to this feature, when a callee processes a request, one RPC thread waits until the user function returns. So what they are saying here is, I think previously while using RPC, the callee was waiting on that request to complete, but now I think there will be a callback function. I don't know much about RPC since I have never used it, but I will definitely try this and understand more about it and create another video on it. If you guys are interested, you can go to the tutorial or documentation or use these examples. They have given links. Very good documentation, I would say. So, and again, they have introduced complex number support, and they have updated some domain libraries like Torch Vision libraries, where they have introduced some new models, and also for Torch Audio is officially supported on Windows. The release also introduced a new model, so they have introduced another model for Torch Audio, and they have some additional updates on Hackathon. Yep, and let's see what else they have. So they have some prototype features. So to reiterate, prototype features in PyTorch are early features that we are looking to gather feedback on, gauge the usefulness of, and improve ahead of graduating them to beta or stable. So basically, they are not available in PyTorch 1.6. You have to build your you have to build PyTorch from source or use one of the nightly versions, I guess. The following features are not part of PyTorch 1.6 release, and instead they are available in nightlies with separate docs or tutorials to help facilitate early users and feedback. Yeah, so they are not available in PyTorch 1.6 yet, but you can use them. You can use them using the nightly versions or directly build PyTorch from source code from the master branch. So what are these prototype features? First is distributed RPC profiler. So we saw how they have added a profiler to see the memory uses for different tensors, but now they are saying they have added profiler. They have also added profiler for distributed RPC. Allow users to profile training jobs that use torch.distributed RPC using AutoGrad profiler. So this is cool. Torch script module freezing. So module freezing is the process of inlining module parameters and attributes values into the Torch script internal representation. Okay, so I don't know much about this module freezing. So we'll discuss it sometimes later when I have more experience with Torch script. Graph mode quantization. Eager mode quantization requires users to make changes to their model, including explicitly quantizing activations, model fusion, rewriting use of torch operations with functional modules, and quantization of functions are not supported. If we can trace or script the model, then the quantization can be done automatically with graph mode quantization without any of the complexities in eager mode, and it is configurable through a qconfig dict. Okay, a lot to take. So what they are saying is in eager mode where you are running everything line by line, quantization requires a lot more effort, and it can have many errors which take more time to fix. But if we run our model using graph mode, I think using Torch script in this case, then quantization can be done automatically without any of the complexities. Okay, so this is also another interesting feature, but which will be useful if you are using graph mode. Quantization numerical suite. Quantization is good when it works, but it is difficult to know what's wrong with it when it doesn't satisfy the expected accuracy. A prototype is now available for numerical suite that measures comparison statistics between quantized models and float modules. Okay, so what they're saying is previously it was very difficult to understand why quantization is not working. Now they have a prototype which compares both the quantized modules and float modules easily, so making debugging faster and easier. So that's it. Really great features, useful features, and I think will be used by many people who are currently working on PyTorch. So that's it for now. Tell me what do you think about my description and my walkthrough of PyTorch 1.6 features. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you.